Have you ever lived in a time where women were considered for only three things: their fathers, their husbands, and their sons, and something very big and traumatic happened in the region where you lived? So you, your father, and your sister ran away to a cave because your mom, something terrible happened to her and she did not make it. And while you were in that cave, you were lonely, and you turned to your sister and said, hey, if we do not have sons or husbands, the society is going to laugh at us. So why don't we rape our father, have his babies, and create a new dynasty so that we will not be laughed at or shamed in society? No, you haven't? Me neither. But let me tell you about some people who did. To understand the story of Lot and his trifling daughters, we would have to go back to Abraham. Now, if you're not somebody who's into the Bible or Abrahamic religion or Jewish or Torah or all of that, don't worry, I got you. So Abraham is known in Christianity as the patriarch rather of faith, right? So when you hear about him, you hear about how God blessed him and said, hey, I will make out of you a nation too numerous to count. Well, the story doesn't just center around that. When Abraham was asked by the Lord to leave his father's house, he took some people along with him, one of them being his wife, Sarah, the other person being the person I really want to talk about, Lot. Now, when Lot, Abraham, and Sarah left the father's house, they went over to some places, and they grew and the family multiplied. Lot got married, had kids, two daughters. That was specifically spoken about. Yeah, definitely two daughters. Right. So they grew, and it got to the point where the people had multiplied. There were servants, there were sheep, there were cattle on both sides. So the land could no longer contain Abraham and Lot. So Abraham said, you know what? Being a peaceful man, for the sake of peace, Lot, come. Let's have a conversation. Now, look, here is the lush fields of this country, and then here is another choice. So you pick one of the countries that you want to go to, and I will move to where you don't pick. So Abraham looked at the lushest part of his choice that was presented to him, rather, and there was this lush city, or rather lush place close to a place where we all know as Sodom and Gomorrah. I hope you guys are following me because I'm sharing this. So it was this place close to Sodom and Gomorrah, and Lot chose that place and moved over there. And initially the Bible says that he was close to Sodom and Gomorrah, but then a time came where he moved from being close to living in Sodom and Gomorrah, and that's where all the conundrum begins. Now, listen, um, they moved into this city that initially they were fighting a war, and because of that war, Lot was kidnapped by a warring nation that came against Sodom and Gomorrah and some other kings, right? So he was kidnapped, and Abraham had to go rescue him. Now, if I was Lot at that point, I would have been out of that city because I just came here and I'm already being kidnapped. That should have been a pre-warning of the even more sinister things that were going to happen. But was he thinking about that? No, because he was prosperous. He was thriving in that city, so he chilled. But it's not like some of you guys are being brined in the very environment that is going to take you out because you're ignoring the red flags that you're seeing, or this could be in the context of a relationship or whatever it is a warning to somebody watching this video. But anyway, so Lot ignored that first warning side. After he was rescued by his cousin, he ran back into Sodom and Gomorrah. Now, if you read about the history of Sodom and Gomorrah, they were a city that practiced live your truth, basically. If you want to be sexual, be sexual. If you want to rape, rape. If you want to do whatever it is you want to do, do. They were so sexually devious that it seems the city came together to do freak offs. Just like, Puff Daddy, you. Anyways, so they were always having freak offs, and their freak offs were um I think it has gotten so normalized within them that they were not itching for something new. So I think they resorted to coming together to gang bang any newcomer that entered that city, because the next part of the story I'm about to tell you could not have happened on like that was the first time they're doing it. The audacity meant, oh, you guys have been doing this for a very long time. You know what I'm saying? So God was going to come judge Sodom and Gomorrah, right? So he said, you know what? People have been praying about this city to me. I'm going to go down and see what's popping in that city to see what's really happening, right? So, two angels went ahead, entered into the city of Sodom and Gomorrah. They were in the city, they met Lot. Lot said, hey, you guys are new here. Let me, be hospitable. Let me show you to my house. It's new. It can be a bit strange here. He did not tell them how strange it was going to be, but they were going to find out. And then I'm gonna take off, and the angels at first declined, but later on Lot insisted. And they were like, okay, fine, cool, we can stay with you. Now, tell me why this town is also one of the highest range gossip town I've ever seen. Because how is it that two people enter a town newly and the whole town, by the end of the evening, they already know that there are two fresh meat in town that they need to consume? Number two, specifically, it was the men of the city, if I'm being very accurate, that came later that night, knocked at Lot's door and said, "Hey, Lot, we heard that you have two fresh chickens for us to play with today. Bring them out." And Lot was like, Dios news, like you don't know the perversion that's been happening in that city for a very long time. I don't know why he was acting surprised. But just to tell you how much Lot knew what was going on, he said, "Hey, I'm not going to stop you from having your fun, but here, take my two very virgin daughters instead." And I really believe that that point was when their original villain story for the later part of the story was born. Because how are you offering your daughters as a replacement for the rape by multiple men that's about to take place? And then the most vile thing out of all of these already vile things is that the men said, "No, we don't want them. We don't want your daughters. We want the men. We want hard nyash." I'm so sorry. Anyway, they kept insisting. The angels smote everybody at the door trying to enter the house with blindness, because now they're threatening Lot like, "Hey, if you don't give them to us, we're going to do to you even worse." So Lot was also in danger of getting his behind violated, right? So all of them became blind except for Lot, his daughters, and the angels, obviously. And then the angel said to him, "Hey, hey, we're about to rain down fire on this city, because it has been confirmed that these people have entered into a state of so much wickedness that they don't even know right from wrong. Justice no longer exists here, because what is even any of this? What does any of this mean?" It's like, get your family, whoever you can pick, and leave the city ASAP. And Lot, here's the thing, if you stayed in wickedness for a very long time, even if you claim not to be part of it, it downs your sensitivity. It makes you sluggish. You're supposed to do things like this. You're supposed to respond to God like this, and begin to move like a snail. Like they said, "Get out," and he was just like, "Oh, what about this? What about this?" They said, "Boy, if you do not get yourself out of this place, you're about to be raised down like a burnt potato in the oven. Get out." So he tried to tell his son-in-laws, because, by the way, the daughters that he had offered as virgin sacrifice were engaged to people. I'm gonna just let that sit for a minute. We cool? Alright, so he told this daughter's fiance, "Hey, let us leave this God-forsaken place," because God was already forsaking them and about to raise them to the ground. And those men said, "Ha ha, no, we're not going anywhere." I said, "Okay, daughter, wife, let's go." They left the city after much pushing, like the angel literally had to drag them out, like, "You guys should go." And then they finally went. And while they were on their way, the mother looked back and turned to South after the angels wondered, "Hey, nobody should look back." But she did turn to South, poop, and they moved on. Very, very, very strange. Now here's where the interesting part of the story comes on. So they moved, the angels told them go to the next city. They said no, they ran to a mountain, a cave. I don't know, they were scared. They first moved to a place first, and then I think the people there, I think they were just traumatized from what happened in Sodom and Gomorrah. So they decided, let's just go be by ourselves in the mountain, because they're scared people are gonna attack them or something. I don't know what their thought process was. When they got to that mountain, they were there by themselves, the man and his daughter. I don't know if he became a farmer, I don't know what he was doing, but three of them were in that cave. And while they were in that cave not doing anything, thoughts, I presume, began to come into their minds. And one daughter said to the other daughter, "Hey, we're in a society where women are only valued based on three things: fathers, husbands, and sons. Our father is going to die out, he might leave us here, and we'll have to fend for ourselves. And it's very difficult for us to fend for ourselves without the protection of a father, a son, or a husband. And also, we need to preserve our father's lineage. He cannot die and leave us here to also die too. So here is what we're going to do. We are going to make the man drunk, have sex with him, and have his baby." And that's exactly what they did. Now, these girls were virgins, but it was very clear that they had been corrupted. They had no purity in them anymore, because how do you even get the mind to even do that kind of thing? You know what it means for a virgin to rape her own father? That was the kind of perversion that was abundant in Sodom and Gomorrah that they took with them as they left. That's what they did. The first one went in the first day, raped her father. He was drunk, he wasn't even aware. Then the next day they got him drunk again, raped him. That's how the two girls got pregnant and gave birth to Israel's one of Israel's biggest ops, years later to come, the Moabites. They showed Israelites shaky. They showed them shaky, like they would, fight with them over land. Hi guys, it's editing Osato here, and tell me why I decided to research on the current ancestry or descendants of the Moabites, and I find out that it is the current day Jordan and Palestine. Palestine. Palestine? Yeah, hey, that checks out. It checks out. And when you read the history of the Moabites and the Israelites, they were always having land dispute. They were always fighting over land and territory. Tell me, dear gentle reader, the current day Israel and Palestine, what is one of their major disputes? You know, I forgot to add that I wondered about the conversation that Lot had after he found out that his daughters were pregnant, and they most likely told him that, yeah, hey, you're the daddy, like we raped you, and this is the result. You know, so because three people decided to have sex, no, sorry, I mean, because two girls decided to rape their fathers, Israel and Palestine have been going at it for decades. I think it got to a point where they would seduce the Moabites, who were the cousins of the Israelites, will seduce them with their plenty gods, and then when they're seduced, they will get into trouble with Yahweh, and it was just a rinse and repeat cycle. And all of that could have been prevented if Lot had stayed with Abraham and minded his business and not let greed make him choose a plot of land that looked juicy. So what is the moral lesson, ladies and gentlemen? Don't fight over plots of land. Don't stay in caves with your father. Don't, just don't. Yeah, I hear the story was horrible. I don't even know. I don't even know. But anyways, I'll see you all on the next episode or the next day. Bye.